It's lager time. Yay! Lager time. Poems, stories, and thoughts. By me, Paul Cree. Who else? One, two. Greetings, bonjour. What's happening? Welcome to Lager Time. My name is Paul Cree. Lager Time is my podcast where I share bits of writing that I'm working on. Be they poems, stories, thoughts, music, lyrics, bars. Hay fever has kicked in hard this year. Currently, I'm waking up every morning feeling as if someone has snapped my neck back like a Pez dispenser and tipped a bag of wet sand down my throat, while at the other end, perfectly formed little antihistamine sweets appear in my shoes. I guess this is what they call the flower cycle. About 14 years ago, someone told me that hay fever comes in 7-year cycles. I think that was the same guy who told me to invest everything in NFTs and that the moon was an abandoned space station. Last I heard, he fell off the edge of the earth riding a Segway, high on antihistamines. Hello. Right, so that little thing I just read there about hay fever, I do have hay fever. It's kicked in pretty hard this week, but I've been messing around recently, writing these little anecdotal thoughts. I suppose really I flirted on and off with the idea for years of going to try a little bit of stand-up comedy, but I've never quite got it together. I've done a number of gigs where crossed over with comedians and stuff, but never quite gone and done the comedy thing. So I've been writing these little routines, little thoughts, little things that amuse me and seeing how they go, and that was one of them. And as mentioned at the start, this is a place where I try things out, or I should be that anyway. So anyway, I hope everything is well in Lagerland. A couple of things I want to mention before I get into the main thing today, which is chapter 3 of Way of the Kip, a short story I've been reading for the last couple of weeks. So, talking about trying things, back in 2020, so 6 years ago now, imagine that, I digress, but flipping hay fever, I feel dehydrated all the time, no matter how much water I drink. And I drink loads, right? I'm recording my voice. Dehydration is like the enemy of voice recording. Anyway, so back in 2020, as we went into lockdown, loads of things were going on. But I decided to make an EP, Raw 64s of Boredom, which was a 5-track self-produced rap EP, each track being 64 bars long. And what I've been banging on about since I redid this podcast back in December was the next installment of that, more 64s of Boredom. But this week, what I've done is, on my website, I've reduced the price basically on the EP, but I also made an ebook at the time. It's the only one I've ever done. So when I made the EP, I made a little ebook to go with it. It was lockdown. I was trying things, trying to learn things, trying to expand my limited skill set. So basically you can get the ebook and the MP3s for £2, like £1 each. And the ebook, each track gets an introduction. But it was all an experiment, really. It was very raw, very rough. When we were in lockdown, I'd moved to Plumstead 18 months before. Like, me and my wife got married. And then, we got engaged or whatever. And I'd moved around so much anyway, up to that point. Loads of my stuff was in storage, along with my monitors, a lot of my the small amount of studio gear that I had to make beats with. A lot of it was locked away. So all I had was my laptop, a microphone, my interface, and then I had on my iPhone the app version of Machine. So iMachine. So Machine is a beat making thing, which I have and learned to use. But I'd made squillions and squillions of loops on iMachine. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take these loops and I'm going to whack them into Cubase and really raw. I'm just going to rap over the top of them. Because I also had loads of lyrics. And over the years doing this, because I started MCing, I started rapping, it was always that. That has always been the thing that I've done the most. Even though writing-wise, I've gone off to do poems and stories and plays and whatever else. So I always had tons of lyrics and always this frustration that I'm not doing anything with it. So really then I just bit the bullet and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to put it out. I know it's going to be a bit rubbish, a bit raw, but I did it. And you can now own that for £2. Same with the ebook. There's probably a couple of spelling mistakes in there, but I learned how to do it. It was tricky. I put the thing together and stuck it out. You know, I suppose it's in the spirit of that DIY stuff. I've always admired, you know, the DIY ethic, from the punk artists to even a lot of the grime guys like JME. They all do it independently and they do it well. And the few times in my life where I have got off my arse and tried to make something happen, it's kind of been all right. Though I wish I would have done it more. Raw 64s was one of those moments. And it's still there. You can stream it online if you want, or you can own it for £2. And then all going well, pretty soon I'll have the next installment, which will be slightly better. But again, it's just really from that frustration. I've got all of this stuff and, you know, not quite sure what to do with it, which is also why I started Lager Time. I had all this writing, I weren't gigging. I was like, what am I going to do with all of this stuff? Flip it. Let's just stick it up, see what happens. Get some water again. So yeah, paulcree.co.uk/shop. And you can see a couple of other bits of things in there that I've done that you can purchase to your liking. But £2. I don't even know what £2 gets you anymore. A scratch card, I think. What could how many penny sweets could £2 get you? Presumably they're not a penny anymore. Anyway, second bit of news. So last year, I recorded an audio book called The Final Year, which is written by a poet called Matt Goodfellow from Manchester. And it was the first big voiceover project I'd done. I've been trying to pivot towards doing that kind of work for the last few years, really. Also, another reason why I started doing Lager Time. So I've been training up and building up my studio and various different skills. And Caliber Audio, who published it, are a audio charity we've been running for years. Originally, I think they were set up to provide like tapes for blind people. So they're a really recognised charity. They do lots of cool things. All their stuff is online now, and it's not just blind people. Lots of people who have difficulty reading, and it goes out to loads of schools. So I did it on a voluntary basis, but it took me a long time. It was a massive project, and I was really proud of it. And there's a little story behind it in that I'd auditioned for Caliber, even though it's a voluntary thing. You have to audition for them. I guess you've got to show them that you've at least got the chops for it. So I had to record a couple of chapters from a book and send it off to them. And I did that, and I wasn't expecting to hear anything back for a while. I did the Never Ending Story, by the way. Banging book. Absolutely nuts. And it must have been a couple of weeks. But I was doing a poetry workshop at a school in London for a literacy trust. And it's a school that I've visited a few times over the years, and I get on really well with the teacher. And the year before, when I'd gone there, he'd recommended this book by Sharon Creech, an American writer. So it's a book aimed at Key Stage 2 in the UK, so that would be 10 to 11-year-olds, because it's all written in verse, but it's like really well done. And it's not too complex. So it's a good way for kids who perhaps don't engage with writing and poetry to read. It's a really good book. It's really done, it's beautifully done, very simple. And I was telling him, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that book that you recommended last year. So he goes, oh, you need to see the next one we're doing. And he pulls out this book from this box full of books. He's like, we're doing this next term, and it was the final year. It had not long come out, and I think I'd heard of it. And the final year is British. So it's about a kid in year 6 in his final year at primary school from Manchester, and it's all written in verse. And this kid is from a council estate. He's from quite a tough background. And I thought, oh yeah, that book looks really good. And like I'd done the year before, I took a photo of it. I leave that school in the morning. 2 hours later, I'm in the office for Dream Arts where I was working that day. Later on, I get an email from Calibre, and they were saying, thanks for the demo. We like what you're doing. Wouldn't normally do it, but this book has just come onto our desk. We know you do poetry and all of that stuff. Would you want to do it? And it was the final year. Imagine that, serendipity. So I said, yes, of course. And it took me quite a long time, probably well over 6 months, to record it, because we were in between Maidstone and London at the time, going back and forth. So and all my studio gear was in Maidstone. And yeah, there was just loads going on, but I managed to do it. And I had to edit it all. Editing was the mission, but I did it. And I found out today that it's the 4th most listened book this month, in the month of April, for Calibre Audio. It's a final year. It's a really good book. It's really easy to read, you know, even for adults, but it's quite heartfelt. Large up, Calibre Audio, Matt Goodfellow, and all the kids that hopefully will have engaged with that book. So there you go. Nice little bit of news for me. Maybe that's brought something to your life, maybe not. I've just waffled. So we're going to get down to business now. So chapter 3, Way of the Kip. So last week we had chapter 2, first chapter week before that. So there's a little reminder. We have Reece, Shaughnessy, our main character. He's in London working in a dull, tedious office job. Probably mid to late 20s. Doesn't really know where he's going with his life. But he's having trouble sleeping. He doesn't sleep very well. Every night it's the same thing. And the only time he sleeps is when he's drunk, or he's eating loads of heavy food, which is more or less the same. And he's not doing too well at work. The first chapter, he gets to work and there's some training, and it's about unconscious bias. And he ends up saying some stupid things in the training and embarrassing himself. But he finds out that his colleague, Bianca, who he doesn't really know, had a really good night's sleep. So he sees it as his mission to go and talk to Bianca to try and get some tips on sleeping. In chapter 2, he gets a bit, I can't remember what happened in chapter 2. Oh yeah, he gets to the end of the training. It's in chapter 2 actually, where he embarrasses himself. So he decides by the end of the session that he has to talk to Bianca, and he finds he has this mission. He's got to learn more about sleeping. So this chapter, we find out what happens when he tries to seek out the sage advice of Bianca from accounts. So hold on. Oh, so this is called chapter 3, First Words of the Sage. An email pinged in my inbox from Priya, saying she wanted to speak with me in the meeting room. I looked up towards the glass menagerie where we just had the training. Priya was gesturing at me to come in. I had no idea what this was about, but I guessed it wasn't good. I sat down. Priya sat opposite me, M&S chicken salad by her elbow, next to some paper and a laptop. She looked serious. She always looked serious, just more serious than normal. Serious Maximus. Reece, I'm not going to lie, I'm quite disappointed. I feel like you weren't taking that training very seriously. If you weren't giving silly answers, you were dismantling your biro and putting it in your mouth like a bloody chimpanzee. Are you comparing me with a monkey? Don't be a dick, Reece. This is serious. I've got growing concerns about your attitude. Through the glass window, I saw Bianca walk into the kitchen. My guru, the first mission. There was the gateway to the truth, the first step on the mystic journey, probably getting a yogurt from the fridge. I hoped this wouldn't take long. Are you listening, Reece? Yeah, of course. I'm sorry, and I'm really sorry you feel that way. I thought the training was great and fun. Bianca was now making the tea. I could see her pulling some herbal variety out of a box. I could tell by the colours of the branding it weren't no normal tea. Fun? Not fun, you know what I mean. No, I don't, Reece. You think training, essentially about rooting out discrimination in the workplace, is fun. What? No, that's not what I meant. What did you mean then? I don't know. You're putting words in my mouth. I thought it was really good. Then why did you just send me an email saying, I quote, that was well dry and P.S. I like the new braids? I take it this wasn't meant for me, unless you're suggesting I wear braids, which could be construed as being very culturally insensitive, Reece. I'm a brown woman of Indian heritage. We don't tend to wear hair in braids. That tends to be people of African origin, unless you think all of us non-white women are the same. What? No, of course not. Sorry about that email. It was meant for Diane. Drawing attention to Diane's hair is also very insensitive, Reece, especially coming from a white male. Diane is of mixed Nigerian-British heritage. You're lucky she hasn't complained. Ghanaian British, actually. I said, stop interrupting me. Either way, it kind of proves my point about your attitude. Buck up your ideas, Reece. I'll be paying closer attention to you and expecting to see some improvements. Sorry, Priya. Bianca now had a plastic container in her hand. I was praying she was heating up her food. She opened the microwave and placed the container in. Yes, yes, yes! What are you smiling about, Reece? Is something funny? You seem very distracted. What? No, nothing. I'm watching you, Reece. Sorry. Get out. I exited the meeting room lively, did that almost running but not quite running walk like I'm holding in a dump and dashed across the office, just as Bianca was coming out the kitchen with her lunch, yogurt and herbal tea. I almost bashed into her. She looked a little startled. She looked at me. I paused. I suddenly realised I had no idea what to say to her. It also occurred to me that I don't talk to Bianca very often, and judging by that training session back there, she probably thinks I'm a knob. Hey Bianca, have you got a second? She looked miffed. I'm kind of busy, Reece. It's my lunch break. I guess busy meant texting her mates about possible holiday destinations or looking at OK magazine. It won't take 5 minutes. Please. 5 minutes then, starting now. She dumped her lunch into my hands and walked past me towards her desk. I took that as a cue to follow her. Got to her desk. There was some sort of Buddhist statue, lots of teddy bears and lots of pictures of her on holiday. Though it was an open-plan office, it felt weirdly intimate, like I was going into someone's bedroom. Where are these pictures from? I said. All over. I love travelling. Each snap could well have been taken in a different destination around the world. But unless I had a very specific and intricate knowledge of sand types, which I don't, there was nothing to go on as each picture was her on a generic-looking beach, pouting, holding a cocktail. So what do you want then, Reece? Not even looking at me, already reaching for the magazine. I just wanted to ask some advice on something. She moved her head slightly, like she was curious. Advice? Is this a joke, Reece? I tried to speak quietly. I was a bit embarrassed. No, it's not. Look, lately I've been having real trouble sleeping. You said in the training back there you'd slept really well. I was wondering if you had any tips or anything to help with sleeping. Her whole demeanour changed. I must have tapped into her ego or her human instinct for compassion, probably the former. She turned her head towards me, smiling. Are you serious, Reece? Yeah. Why wouldn't I be? Everyone needs to sleep and I'm always tired. Where do I start? The start. Well, on a good day, I like to get my boyfriend Dan to run me a nice bath. I've got some lovely herbal essences bubble bath. Maybe some nice chill out music. I could probably recommend you some. No, thank you. Buddha bar is great. It's just like bliss and so peaceful. Oh, and I love a few candles. I've got these lovely sandalwood ones. You can get them in molten brown, but I know Tesco do a lovely one too. Then I get Dan to give me a lovely massage using some essential oils I got from Body Shop. By then I'm sleepy, so I spray this night spray on my pillow, slip on my scented eye mask, and I sleep like a baby every time. You do all of that? Self-care, Reece. I'm worth it. Thanks, Bianca. I think I can do candles. It's given me something to think about. I think that's my 5 minutes. You're welcome, Reece. I met her boyfriend Dan once. Big geezer, could certainly handle himself. He was a builder or something. A hero, probably. So I was going to have to make some investments then. Molten brown, though. I went in there once on some Secret Santa Christmas errand. It was expensive. She did say Tesco, so I decided that would be my first port of call. The second mission of the quest. Seek candle. Hopefully reasonably priced candle. Maybe Bianca was the wise sage you always get in the Kung Fu adventure film. I heard the gong sound again, and I walked back to my desk. Didn't get much time to think anymore about the quest, the mission. I kept my nut down for the rest of the day. I was somewhat concerned about the tone and implication of Priya's little talk with me. I was on thin ice. Again. I didn't want to attract any more attention to myself, not now that I had a mission. The way of the kip. Gong sound. Got an email in my inbox. Diane had replied. Thanks, Reece. Glad you like. XXX. I made sure I stayed a little later, just to show Priya I was putting in extra effort, even if I was looking at Molten Brown's website, which confirmed my suspicions it really was expensive. Presumably people were happy to pay 15 quid for a candle. I strolled out the office, professionally, whatever that is. As soon as I exited the building doors, I power walked to the tube station, like I was still holding in that dump from earlier. Destination Brixton, the big Tesco on Acre Lane. And that there is chapter 3. Oh, the tension is building. Tune in next week. You get chapter 4. There's only a couple more after that, and I need to write some more. But anyway, that'll do for this week. I've gone on quite a long time. But anyway, I hope you're good. Have a lovely weekend. paulcreed.co.uk/shop. Raw 64 is a boredom ebook and ebook and MP3s. £2, mate. I can't talk. £2. Stay hydrated, and I'm trying to think of histamine. Yeah, stay antihistamine up if you're a sufferer. Peas and taters. Paul.
It's longer time. Yay! Lager time. Poems, stories and thoughts. By me, Paul Creed.